Right now, you are probably sitting on like $100 an hour skill that you just routinely give away for free.
Oh, all the time. People do this constantly.
Yeah, and you do it just because it feels easy to you, you know? Meanwhile, every time you open social media, someone is practically yelling at you about the newest, most urgent secret to success.
Right, you're told you have to master a completely new coding language or figure out the intricacies of algorithmic day trading today.
Exactly. Or you have to become an expert in some highly complex AI tool right this second. I mean, it creates this overwhelming anxiety that the key to your success is floating out there in the ether,
And that you are already 10 steps behind everyone else.
which is so frustrating. But welcome to today's deep dive. We are putting you front and center today.
Yes, we are.
Our mission for this deep dive is to take a really close look at a framework called the Blueprint. It was created by Sammy from the brand Sammy Central.
Yeah, and his approach is just incredibly grounding.
It really is. The goal today is to solve a massive problem that I know a lot of you listening right now are facing. And that is how to actually identify the marketable skills you already possess.
Right.
And crucially, how to price that knowledge based on its true value rather than letting your own insecurities, dictate the price tag.
Because it is an incredibly exhausting cycle. We're constantly conditioned by the modern digital landscape to look outward for value. There's this pervasive assumption that to build something meaningful, you have to become a completely different person.
Right, like you need a brand new set of highly technical skills.
Exactly. And in that pursuit, we end up entirely discounting the lives we've already lived. I mean, the experiences we've already survived and the problems we've solved just get tossed aside as irrelevant.
Which is exactly the mindset we're dismantling today. And what I love is how intensely practical Sammy is about this approach.
He really is. In a world completely obsessed with finding the next big thing, his framework forces us to stop, turn around, and look inward. It demands that you audit your existing life experiences before you go out trying to acquire new ones.
Yeah, and he built a multi-pillar brand around things that, on the surface, might not seem like a cohesive corporate strategy at all. I mean, he covers basketball, gaming, creator education, and his faith.
Which is such an interesting mix.
Right. He's very open about the fact that he was once just sitting on a mountain of potential with no clear path forward. But he didn't go out and learn a completely foreign industry. He just looked at what he was already doing.
Which brings us to the foundation of his entire philosophy. Before we can talk about pricing or making money, we have to dismantle what he calls the myth of the missing niche.
The myth of the missing niche. I like that.
Yeah, it's that internet lie we just talked about, the idea that your perfect business model is hidden out there in the world, waiting to be discovered like buried treasure. Sammy argues the exact opposite. Your niche is already inside you.
Okay, but knowing your niche is quote-unquote inside you is a bit abstract, right?
It is, yeah.
But what I really appreciate about the source material is that Sammy provides a specific mechanism to extract it. He calls it the asset inventory.
Right, the asset inventory.
Because instead of just sitting down with a blank piece of paper and asking yourself, what am I good at? Which, let's be real, immediately triggers imposter syndrome for most of us.
Oh, 100%. It's the worst question you can ask yourself.
Exactly. So instead, he relies on a series of very targeted questions. Things like, what do people pay or ask you for?
Which is such a good reframe.
Or what could you talk about for hours without running out of breath? What problems have you solved in your own life that others are still struggling with? What do people compliment you on? And what experiences have shaped how you see the world?
What's fascinating here is the psychology behind phrasing the questions that way.
Yeah.
It's vital. Because like you said, asking, what am I good at, invites your internal critic into the room.
And that critic is loud.
Very loud. But asking, what do people consistently ask me for? That forces you to look at external data. You're completely bypassing your own biases.
So if your friends are constantly texting you to help them format their resumes?
Right, or asking how you manage to meal prep for a family of 4 in under an hour, that is raw data.
It's hard evidence.
Exactly. And look at Sammy's own inventory as the case study. He didn't invent some fake corporate persona. He pulled out his actual background. The basketball coaching, the content creation strategy, his deep knowledge of gaming, and his faith-based encouragement.
Which is huge for him.
Right, for him, faith isn't just a side note. He actively uses his belief that God is good in every season as his anchor during the difficult periods of building his brand. He brings his whole self to the table, and he has this powerful quote in the guide. He says, "Your testimony is your curriculum. Your experience is your product.
Your testimony is your curriculum. Wow, that completely demystifies the
It
process.
really does.
I mean, it's like wandering around your house frantically looking for your sunglasses, only to realize they've been sitting on top of your head the entire time.
Yes, that is the perfect analogy.
But okay, I want to push back on this a bit, because applying this to someone else always seems easier than applying it to ourselves.
Oh, sure.
Let's say you, the listener, sit down and do this asset inventory. You look at your list and you see things like, I don't know, organizing messy Google Drives, fixing leaky faucets, or budgeting on a tight income.
Very practical stuff.
Right, but it's so easy to look at that list and think, well, this is just normal stuff everyone knows. This is just adulting. How do we stop from disqualifying our own life experiences like that?
That reaction is practically guaranteed.
Mm.
And it's rooted in a psychological phenomenon often called the curse of knowledge.
The curse of knowledge.
Yeah. When you are highly proficient at something, the neural pathways in your brain make it feel completely effortless. And because it feels easy to you, your brain automatically and incorrectly assumes it must be easy for everyone else.
Ah, so you naturally discount what comes easily to you.
Exactly. You look at a beautifully color-coded automated spreadsheet and think, well, obviously, that took me 10 minutes. But someone else looks at that exact same spreadsheet and thinks it's literal magic.
Because they've been drowning in chaotic paperwork for 3 years.
Precisely. The feeling that your skills are basic is an illusion created by your own proficiency. The external data, the fact that people keep asking you for help, that is the reality.
Okay, so if we trust the data of our own lives over our insecurities, we end up with this master list of assets. But obviously we can't monetize everything on that list, right?
No, definitely not.
Like if I love knitting tiny, elaborate sweaters for my golden retriever, that might be on my inventory. But I probably shouldn't stake my financial future on it. So how do we know which of these assets are actually marketable?
So this requires a fundamental shift in how we view income. Sammy introduces this mental model that moves away from traditional employment. Society conditions us to think in terms of jobs. One role, one desk, one boss, one paycheck.
Right. The traditional 9 to 5.
But Sammy says you have to think in terms of lanes. A lane is simply any avenue where the value you create becomes income you receive. So a YouTube channel is a lane. Digital products are a lane. Coaching is a lane.
But opening a lane takes a lot of time, and if you're listening to this, you probably already have a full-time job, family obligations, just, a life. You don't have 80 hours a week to experiment.
Which is why Sammy is very strict about not trying to open 10 streams at once. You choose just 2 or 3 lanes to start. And to make the cut, an item from your asset inventory has to survive 3 strict rules.
Okay, so what are the rules?
Rule number 1, you must have genuine skill or experience in it. There's absolutely no fake it till you make it here. If you haven't lived it, you can't sell it.
That makes total sense.
Rule number 2, other people must actively need or want it. There has to be a proven demand, which ties right back to that external evidence we talked about.
Right, people actually texting you for help. And then there's rule number 3, which is that there must be a clear path to monetization within 90 days.
Yes, the 90-day rule.
Oh, wait. Okay, let's unpack this for a second, because this feels like a massive contradiction to me.
How so?
Well, throughout the blueprint, Sammy talks a lot about the long game. He says consistency matters way more than immediate cash. But then he demands a clear path to monetization in 90 days. Isn't that a contradiction to playing the long game?
It sounds like one, right?
Yeah.
If you connect this to the bigger picture, though, it makes sense. Sammy isn't saying you need to be making thousands of dollars or replacing your salary in 90 days. He's talking about earning the first dollar.
Just the first dollar.
Yeah, making your first dollar online isn't about the financial gain. It's a psychological earthquake.
A psychological earthquake. What do you mean by that?
Think about why creators actually quit. They quit because they pour hours of energy into a void, right? And they get absolutely zero feedback that what they are doing matters.
It's like talking to a brick wall.
Exactly. But when you make that first sale within 90 days, even if it's just a $17 PDF or something, it completely shatters the illusion that your skills are worthless. It provides the concrete evidence your brain needs to justify staying in the long game.
Oh, wow. So the 90-day monetization rule isn't a get-rich-quick scheme at all.
Not at all. It's a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
Gives you the psychological fuel to endure the slow seasons.
That reframing makes so much sense. Earning the first dollar quickly is just about proving market viability. And this ties into Sammy's very practical advice about your day job. He says, do not quit your day job.
Right. Do not quit.
Because the pressure of needing your new lane to pay your mortgage immediately is just going to make you desperate.
It destroys your creativity.
Then,
So instead, he advocates for dedicating just 5 to 10 hours a week, early mornings, late nights. You use those protected hours strictly to build that evidence.
okay, so let's say the listener has found their asset, filtered it through the three criteria, and chosen a lane. They're going to offer a digital guide on, say, meal prepping.
Great lane.
Now comes the absolute scariest part for most creators, actually putting a price tag on your knowledge and asking people to pay for it.
Oh, this is where everyone freezes.
Right. And Sammy points out a major pitfall here. We tend to chronically underprice our knowledge out of pure insecurity.
The curse of knowledge strikes again. Because writing that guide feels easy to you, you feel inherently guilty charging a premium for it.
Hmm.
You look at the final product and think, well, I can't charge $100 for this. It only took me 2 hours to put together.
But Sammy's core philosophy on pricing completely obliterates that logic. He argues that value is not determined by how long you've known the information.
Right.
And it's not determined by how long it takes you to deliver it either. The value is determined entirely by the transformation it creates for the buyer.
This is exactly the mental pivot required to build a multi-stream brand without feeling like a fraud. You are pricing the result, not the labor. If your advice helps someone go from being totally stuck to moving forward, that transformation is worth real money.
You know, it's like paying a locksmith $100 for 5 minutes of work.
That is a perfect example.
Right, because you aren't paying for the 5 minutes it took them to pick the lock. You're paying for the years it took them to learn how to do it, so you don't have to sleep outside in the cold. You're paying for the transformation of being back inside your warm house.
Exactly. When someone buys your knowledge, they are buying a fast pass past the mistakes and the wasted time you already endured. And Sammy provides very tangible starting points for this.
What kind of numbers are we talking about?
For digital products like PDFs or templates, he suggests starting in the $17 to $37 range. For more active things like coaching sessions, he suggests starting between $75 and $150.
But those are just starting points, right? They scale up.
Exactly. Your prices scale up based on the testimonials you gather and the actual measurable results you get for people. Notice what's missing there. Your imposter syndrome. The market dictates the price based on the transformation.
Shifting from selling time to selling a result is so liberating. But okay, even with the perfect price, you still have to convince someone to click the buy button. Which brings us to selling. And nobody wants to feel like a slimy, pushy salesperson.
Well, selling has a terrible reputation because we associate it with coercion. But Sammy redefines it. Selling is simply offering something valuable to someone who genuinely needs it.
Offering medicine for a headache.
Precisely. It's not manipulative to offer the cure if they have the headache. You do it through authentic storytelling.
So not just listing product features.
Right. You don't just say, buy my coaching package. You share stories of transformation. You say, here's a client who was overwhelmed, and here are the 3 steps we took to fix it. Or you share your own personal journey.
So the content itself does the heavy lifting. Sammy calls this having a 24/7 salesperson. Your free content is constantly building trust in the background, proving your competence.
And if your audience trusts that you actually care about their transformation, the transition to a paid product isn't a high-pressure ultimatum at all. It's just the natural next step.
It really removes the friction from the entire process. Let's just briefly recap the journey of this deep dive. We started by uncovering the niche already inside you using the asset inventory.
Right, relying on that external data.
Then we filtered those skills through the 3 marketability criteria, making sure you have a path to that first dollar within 90 days.
To build that psychological evidence.
Exactly. And finally, we talked about pricing your knowledge based on the transformation it provides rather than your own insecurities. It is just incredibly empowering to realize that the raw materials you need are already sitting in your brain.
You don't need to go back to school. You just need to audit your life.
Hmm.
And I want to leave everyone with a final lingering question to mull over today.
I love a good final thought. Let's hear it.
If the true value of your knowledge is based entirely on the transformation it provides to others, what is the most valuable free advice you've been casually handing out to your friends and coworkers for years?
Oh, wow.
You know, the thing they always come to you for. And what would actually happen if you finally decided to treat that advice like the premium asset it actually is?
That is exactly the question to ask yourself today. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take that inventory, trust the data of your own experiences, and start building with what you already have.